Hi, I'm Deborah Regis, and this is my final project presentation. For my final project proposal, I had in mind a small widget that a website owner could use to change his restaurant website's menu page. Because I thought if you have a restaurant website, the main thing that's going to change often is going to be the menu. You're going to change the prices, take things off the menu, add things on, change the descriptions maybe, and you really shouldn't have to call the web designer every time you want to make a small change. So it seemed like it wouldn't be a really difficult project to me. I knew some HTML and CSS and a little bit of JavaScript, and I thought, how hard could it be? I didn't even realize I would need back-end programming, which I have no idea how to do yet. So I got permission to just do the front-end portion, and I used some dummy data. And hopefully when I take back-end programming next year, I'll be able to get this working the way it's supposed to. But for now, it's sort of just a demo. The first part that I wanted to work on was just a tiny little widget that would let the user pick which menu section to work on. I didn't think a whole lot about how this should look, and there's so little to it that it didn't seem like it was going to be a problem. What I ended up doing, and I'm almost embarrassed, but I wanted to show this just because it's so silly. Why not? This is what I came up with. So I spent a lot of time designing this thing, and I did the styling on the hover and all, and the text. And at the end of the day, that looks terrible. It looks like a sad little smartphone. It's just not, it's not good. So even though I spent a lot of time on this, and I was proud of myself for getting it to that point, ultimately it had to go. So I redesigned it with Bootstrap buttons. I think it looks a lot better. I did do some CSS styling on this so that it does this when you hover over the little items. I thought that was nice. It looks a lot better, and of course it's responsive. You can squish it down and stretch it out. And if I had only used Bootstrap buttons to begin with, I could have not wasted a lot of time. But anyway, that's how that happened. The next thing I needed was the main part of the user interface, which I envisioned as a sort of a form to begin with. And you'd be able to type in each of these fields. And you could use these little arrows to move up and down, edit the price, delete an item, save the changes, or change your mind and just back out. Oddly, it didn't occur to me, I guess, that I would also need a way to add items, which I realized later that I did. So I started working on this as a table, and I could get the table to be editable. I could get the table to have table rows that were draggable up and down so you could change the order of the table rows. I could not get them both to work together at the same time. So I just sweated over that and couldn't get it to go. And after a lot of internet searching, I found this on CodePen. Now this was the first time I had seen this. I really had thought that I had this unique little idea that might actually be useful. But when I found this, I said, hooray! It works, it's exactly what I wanted, and I looked closer at it, and it is a menu item. It's exactly what I wanted to do. So boo, I don't have such a new, unique idea. But the good thing was that I could see that how to get it working. The not so great thing is that it's all done with jQuery, which like I said, I only know a little bit of JavaScript, a sort of okay amount of JavaScript, but jQuery is totally new to me. And it's not easy to just jump right in. I did figure out what most of this stuff does. And on his here, you can see that when he exports, it prints this JSON, stringified JSON data at the bottom of the page, which is fine, because again, I don't have the back-end programming to do a file, so this is just perfect. I did end up doing some fiddling around with this. I've been fiddling around with it. And this is what it looks like when you first open the page. It populates from pre-typed HTML data that I put in there just as a placeholder. Realistically, when I get some back-end programming, it's going to pull from the existing file, what's already on the web page. And then you'll be able to add items with that button. And I'm just going to add a couple of items. And then I wanted to show you that if you cancel the changes, it refreshes the page. So it would go back to whatever it was when you first started. I'm going to add an item 2, an item 3. Why not an item 4? And you can do that to any of these areas here. You can change a price. And you can move this up. You see $9.99 is moving right on up there. And if you try to move up past the head of the table headers, it won't let you because the code checks to see if it's the first item already. And if it is, it won't let you go up any further, which is a good thing. You delete here with this, and if you exit the menu, it's going to take you back here, but I don't want to do that right now because I don't want this to go on forever. If you save changes, you get this JSON data at the bottom, and it does push these buttons over to the right, but that doesn't matter because when it's actually working with the back-end programming, it's going to be exporting that data. You're never going to see that, so that's not a big deal. So at the end of the day, what you end up with is this, and again, theoretically, this is going to draw from the data that you just create here, which is going to be in an external file. But I created a JSON dummy file that looks pretty much the same format as that, so hopefully when I get all the pieces of knowledge that I need, I'll be able to get these to work together. But that's what you come up with, and it is not as fancy as what I originally wanted. The font would be easy to fix. That's just a font thing. A little bit of the formatting didn't come out the way I wanted. Typical thing, it's the end of the semester, I'm swamped, I got a lot of things due, and I think if I had more time I could get it formatted more, but given the time that I have and the deadlines that I have, this is not too bad. It's working. It's doing most of the things that I wanted it to do, and so I'm not awfully upset with the end result. I also want to get credit where credit's due. This thing here is how this page draws from a JSON file to get the table. So if you were to look at the at this HTML page, and again that's what the person sees when they go look up this website, this is all navbar stuff. This is the calls to the scripts. This is the footer. This is the only HTML on this page. There's this H2, and then there's this line right here where it's getting this data from here. And again, I found that, for the most part, from here. So I did learn a lot, but this part in particular is over my head. I gotta be honest, this part here I basically just copied. I did do a little bit of fiddling with it, but I've got a jQuery book, and I plan to get into that after the semester's over and I have a little bit more time. But for the time being, what I ended up with is a bunch of parts, modular pieces that I stuck together and got what I needed. So that is basically it. That's my project, and the files are attached and everything, and thank you. Bye.